1st, 2025, Idlewise Board of Commissioners meeting. It's 9 a.m. and the first thing we'll do is call this meeting to order, and I make a motion that we discuss and approve the agenda.
Second.
Any modifications to the agenda?
Just moving forward, I'd like to see Ian underwater, listed next to water, not
Yep.
as a public appearance.
No problemo.
Any other comments? All in favor of the agenda then? Say
Aye.
Aye.
3-0 on this agenda. And then we'll move to the approval of manifests. We have an operations and payroll manifest for $14,863.07. I'll make a motion to discuss and approve this manifest.
Did you want to talk about the minutes first?
Let's skip the minutes.
You did.
Um,
Number 2 is minutes.
I made the motion and seconded it. Let's
Sure.
do this
No problem.
manifest and then there's only one manifest, so let's
Okay.
Yep.
go
Second.
back to
So
the
we'll make
minutes.
3, 2, and 2, 3. Okay.
Any noteworthy things on this manifest?
No, everything looked pretty
Pretty straightforward.
straightforward.
We paid telephone bills. There was a finance administration supplies for $36.44. Water services,
Yep,
employee benefits, copy of scanner payment. This is our first payment?
yep.
Warrant article number 8.
$94.10. And that's for the month of February, I think. It started January 31st
It started
to
January,
February. So this
correct.
is, I noticed how many copies were made. And I'm interested to know why the meter started at 5,000. Did you notice that? We get the meter start and stop, and it tells you how many black and white copies, how many color copies. But I noticed the numbers started in the 5,000s, and then I wondered.
Mark,
Well, it's a used
Right.
copier.
used machine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they know what is zero as far as we're concerned.
No problem. So, if there's no other questions, how do you vote on approving this manifest?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0 on this manifest. Now
Okay.
we'll go back
And
to
it
the.
includes payroll as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
We'll go back to the minutes of March 25th.
Yep.
We'll make a motion to discuss and approve these minutes.
Second.
Discussion.
I didn't have anything.
Oh,
No.
come on.
I have one thing, it's not a
Yeah.
nitpick, it's a philosophical, it's a public information issue.
Okay.
And it's not that the minutes are not correct, as the commissioners already pointed out that they had no problem with them, but under Woodard's
Mm-hmm.
report,
Yep.
Woodard talked about uranium testing from
Right.
the analytical. So you read this, and this is accurate as to what your report was. My concern is, I'm seeing certain members of the electronic public seem to want to take off in this issue, and they're saying things that are just not factual based. And because they're doing it publicly, they may be misleading people to think that there's a situation that's not there. So when I read this, I went, does this feed this? Because you weren't addressing that issue, but if somebody read this that was hearing from some non-intelligent person that there's an issue, that they're getting letters saying they shouldn't drink this water. There's an example.
Did I not mention that none of the water was released into the system
I thought I saw that somewhere.
Right, during the testing,
during the testing?
which is what it was saying. It doesn't emphasize that the water hasn't been released into the system
Since
since November
November.
26th.
Gotcha.
So that's why I read this and say, well, it wasn't said in the minutes,
Right.
but I'm concerned about taking something out of context, like Woodard's report, the translation into the minutes.
Right.
Somebody reading this and applying misinformation and reading into this, that the only time that we're looking at this is when we're testing it. So could we add, you see my issue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you
You'd
want
like
to
to
add
modify
something
it?
that says that there was no, that the water's
Put
not
something
been
in
released, or do you
parentheses,
wanna take it out?
I would prefer something in parentheses so that it's distinguished from what Woodard's report was. So if you looked
Right.
at the video, you're not seeing something that he didn't say.
Right,
But if it was in bold in parentheses with note colon,
yeah,
the water from Muddy Beach has not been allowed to enter the system since November
November.
26, 2024.
yep,
I think that would take the wind out of any nuts sail
beautiful.
latching onto this.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I
Yeah.
had breakfast with some friends who are part-time residents in Idlewice, and they said, "Do we need to be drinking bottled water?" I was like, "No."
Okay, so,
And I explained everything
yeah.
as to why and what was really going on.
I
So-
responded to, on the internet saying, why are you saying, who told you that you can't drink the water? The letter you received says, if this was an emergency, in bold letters, you would have been notified immediately. And then further down it says, there's no reason to look for alternate use, water use.
Right.
And then it goes on to say, unless you have health issues, you should talk to your primary care provider. Other than that, that's what that letter is saying. So they're saying that it says something else. They're not telling me who told them that. You
Yeah.
know, is it a grapevine telephone thing where the story gets twisted? So I just would like to
Yep,
try to keep everybody straight. And I think we need to do more work on this, and I was waiting until we got a response from the people, the well people at DES,
Yes.
before we documented and said, here's what we're doing.
mhm,
And so I'm waiting for this guy to get back to us and arrange that meeting, and
Right, but you also recall when I was discussing this last week, I said, if we gotta go out with another uranium notice, there's a little, they give you just a little itty bitty space to explain, well, what are you doing about it to mitigate the circumstances? And
but the
that's-
other side of that letter is blank.
Exactly, that we said we should have a little,
One page,
we should add more more of a narrative.
see opposite page.
Yes.
And then lay it out.
Exactly, and tell them, sort of just encapsulate what we're talking about
Do you
right
want to
now.
wait until we talk to the DES well people?
definitely.
Well,
Do a first draft and then modify it after we talk to them?
we haven't been notified yet
That-
that we have to send
We
that.
will,
We will.
I'm sure.
Okay, but remember, there was two separate issues. There was the uranium notice and the fact that you can drink the water because we haven't released anything from Muddy Beach. The other one we just discussed, which I think was the people we want to talk to, is how to coordinate the timing of the putting in the new pump
Yeah.
at well A.
Yep.
So that's a separate issue.
Correct.
And part of this is, I was motioning that we start to put in uranium treatment, and you two are of the opinion that we should not do that unless we absolutely have to, and that's where it led to us talking to the well people.
Exactly.
But I think our intent is, even though the state would allow us to ship that water into the system, they're telling us that
We don't want to.
we don't want to.
We don't want to.
So we're
Right.
trying to avoid that, and we're trying not to waste a lot of money trying to do that.
Right.
Right.
Right. However, I have had additional thoughts on that and am more inclined to think, because it could be a year and a half or more before
Well, B goes
well
in.
B goes in, we need it as backup.
Yes, that's,
So therefore, we do need to have the equipment, we need to have it in line, and we need to do it as soon as we can.
okay.
You're talking about uranium mitigation.
Yep.
Mediation equipment.
So now we're supposed to be approving the
Now we're
minutes.
back.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we-
I
now
know,
we're
we're
totally different
completely
discussion.
off.
So we'll
we take
hold that
later?
for after, when we get to water.
Okay, sounds good.
And Noah's here.
Right.
Yes,
So,
Yeah, he should be coming right in
Okay.
now.
yep, I
Yep.
see him.
you strolling in right now.
Okay, so we're happy with adding
With the
that one
minutes.
note to the minutes?
Yeah.
Yes.
So all in favor of the minutes with that modification? Say aye.
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 3-0 on the minutes. Okay, so now we're at 9:09. 9:09, we'll move to the DPW report. Good morning, Joe.
Hello, I'm up.
Yeah, I got a few items that.
Yes, I
yeah.
see those. We'll start with those. We want to jump right on to
Sure.
pulling a board.
Wait, pulling, we already pulled it.
We pulled the board back in the fall.
Yeah.
Right,
Is Anybody concerned with the levels, or are we all right with that? I mean, what?
Glory is.
She's the only one who will be, but have you looked at the spillway where the water level is to that,
Yeah, it's at that top mark.
it's at that top mark?
Yeah, it's been
where
right
that band that
Yep.
you put?
Yep, it's been right up at that, so, you know, you don't really want to get it any higher than that, I would think,
Then
because
I-
that comes to be a
Maybe we need to
danger.
pull it for a limited period of time.
You know, so it's just something to keep an eye on, or something to keep in consideration. You know, it gets beyond that point, and then it's a lot harder to pull a board.
Yes.
Right, well, yeah, the ordinance says that if it gets above that, that's the time to, or
Right.
at it, it's the time to pull a board.
Right. So, just thought we'd throw that out there.
Well,
So you have a policy that you'd like to have us review, and I noticed that it talks about pulling the boards out,
Yeah, for the
But doesn't
fall
that-
It's the fall
drawdown.
and you're
drawdown.
giving the DPW the authority to do it without having the commissioners have to vote on it?
Yes, it was a motion that we made last fall.
yes, we did make
Right.
that, because the ordinance
that's-
gives a
and you're just
certain
documenting.
window of
Yes.
opportunity.
But we didn't put in there giving them the authority to
We-
pull another board or put the board, when they
In the
put the
spring.
boards back in, that they don't need our vote to
Right.
fall spots.
Right,
So,
so we can certainly modify it. That's why it starts as a draft.
Okay.
so I would say, as soon as Jeff sees it go over that mark, which is the letter of the ordinance,
Yeah,
that he pulls it.
Okay,
Which
so
could be
keep-
today.
Keep an eye on that.
Because there's gonna be a melt today,
There, yeah.
And
and the
rain.
water is flowing.
I
Yeah.
would just do it today. I mean, because you said it's right at the band, right?
Well, I looked last week after Gloria had been in the office, and yeah, it was right there. Then it went down a little bit, and it's come back up. You know, it's fluctuating.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those
All right.
things that.
I should have brought the ordinance with me, but, because there is a date that they're supposed to all be put back in, but we're not at that date yet, so.
No.
What we're concerned about is, yeah, a lot of ice.
So we don't have a policy today
Yeah,
that has the DPW foreman deciding on his own
Correct,
when to put boards in and pull them out based on what the ordinance says.
right.
So we're trying to get there, that he doesn't have to wait till a Tuesday meeting for a vote to react to what Mother Nature's doing at the dam and to, so, is it already the policy that he can put them in and pull them out according to the ordinance without a vote of the commissioners? Or did we only go halfway last?
We
fall?
only went halfway last fall.
for the fall drawdown.
And that was for the fall drawdown. So I think we should update it. But for right now, I think we should give them permission to do it as needed, in accordance with the ordinance.
So I'll make that motion as the VDOE DPW foreman can put boards in and pull boards out according to the dates and measurements of the ordinance without a vote of the Board of Commissioners.
Second,
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
So
Okay.
when you think it's time to pull another one and then put them back in after you reviewed the ordinance, so that you're following the ordinance, which has those markers that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And the dates, the
Okay.
lowering and stuff like that.
I guess this is analogous to, let's say the water is right at the band, and we know a huge storm, a hurricane's barreling up the Atlantic coast toward us. You pull it.
Right.
You pull it. So this is the same thing. We know there's going to be a big melt coming. Yeah.
Okay. The next thing is this tool thing. So
I forgot the name of it.
yeah, it's an
Sorry.
impact gun.
Okay.
And we had one for a number of years. They're in Milwaukee. It's a nice tool, you know. I mean, we use it for almost everything. And it was on its way out. It was throwing metal filings and everything else. So just prior to everything that went south last year, a little over a year ago, we had purchased a new one. So that one, all of a sudden, just kind of went to you-know-where. It's not working properly. So we sent it out to get fixed, because that one's under warranty.
You
That
had a
one,
1/2 inch and you had a 3/4, right?
Right, the
Which
three-
one are we talking about now?
this is the 1/2 inch one that we
1/2
sent out.
Okay.
So the 3/4 one was the one that went bad, and it couldn't do anything about that. You know, overuse. It was over 5 years old. They have like a 5-year warranty. The serial number been worn off the thing from using it. So that one is done. So we'd like to purchase a new 3/4 inch impact gun.
And that's over $500?
with the battery and the charger. It was $352 on sale last week at Napa, without any batteries, just the gun itself. We have 3 batteries, we have a charger, so
And what do you use that for?
big bolts, any kind, you know,
Plow boats,
plow bolts, any kind of, you know, the cutting edges for the plows,
Sanders.
the grader, yeah, anything that's, you know, rugged to get off, you know, instead of using a pipe and a ratchet, and, you know, the old school, takes you half a day to get the job done. So yeah, that's something that.
so you want a motion to buy a new 3/4 inch
Correct,
from Napa
yes.
and a budget of, you said 350?
He said it was on sale for $352 last week. I didn't know how long that sale was gonna last, but I mean, I'd assume it's somewhere around that.
400?
400
Not to
bucks.
exceed 400?
Yeah,
I'll make that motion.
The same batteries fit that we have?
Yep.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Second.
It's the same impact driver, right?
yeah, it's just a little, yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
3-0 on the 3/4 inch for 400.
Okay.
And what about the 1/2 inch that's sent out?
That got sent out to get fixed. If they can't fix it, they'll give us a new one.
Oh, because it's warranty?
Right, that's under
Nice.
the warranty. So I brought that over to JD Tool and he took care of that, whatever that place is there. So yeah, so we got that taken care of. So the ad
Yeah,
paper,
when we
we're
can
gonna run another ad. I mean,
get an ad in with the
try to get some
new
help,
kind of
get some work
requirements that we're
done.
looking for.
Do we have a new draft or should we work on that?
We have to work on the draft.
Yeah.
We talked about it, but
We already ran one, right?
yeah, but that was the
I think
one
you wanted to
from,
put more detail about benefits and,
Oh, that's correct, yes, it's
Yeah.
just, if you look at the whole package, what the value of it is.
Right.
yeah, versus just a flat hourly rate.
so you
Yeah.
wanna run a larger ad with more letters in it?
that's what we talked about.
Yeah, we probably
Smaller
should.
print.
Big bold color print to really
Big
draw the attention.
one-page ad.
Yeah, no, I think we should take a slightly larger, a bump up the size ad, just so, because who knows? The candidate we're looking for is probably on the verge of, age-wise, of needing reading glasses, so a little bit larger is okay.
So we wanna drive a stake in the sand and say when this ad gets published, new version?
Well, we always say we like Saturday, the week. What's the Conway Daily Sun come out now? Monday,
Tuesdays.
Tuesday, Wednesday, and
3 days a week.
Tuesdays, Thursdays, and
Almost
Saturdays.
Right. Every other daily Sun.
the other every Daily Sun. Yeah.
So I think it would be a sad day that we would be shooting for.
So it has to be sent in before 3 o'clock on Friday, I believe. Well, that's
I think
what you-
even before that,
Yeah,
you gotta shoot for
maybe they're not
noon.
there every day
Right.
themselves.
Right.
So
Right.
this has to be, let's say Thursday we have to get this in. And I can take a stab at a draft, and you guys can review it. And if you see anything wrong, you can intercept it before it goes in on Thursday.
Okay.
That's the plan then.
Yep.
Okay.
So make a
Great.
motion, we run a new ad.
Sounds good.
Try to get it in the paper by Saturday.
For
That's a
Saturday.
motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0 on that.
Okay, now you're up.
Okay, so Jen and I, we got the phone, obviously come in a couple weeks ago, so we were sat down, went through that, got that going. So that's up and running, but the thing is, I should probably get a case and a screen protector for it. I mean,
Yes.
it's a nice fancy thing, and
And that you can go to the local Verizon and just do it.
okay,
We need to give you a budget, obviously, but.
Or I could, yeah, right. I mean, I don't know what those cost, but go get that, and then what, if I pay for it, I get reimbursed, or have it sent to the bill, I don't know how it works, but,
Well, I'm sure Amazon has many compatible
I
covers that are cheaper.
I also just got a new
than-
phone and I got it on Amazon
Okay.
to get
Well-
my cover.
that's something you could do, Jen, you have
Yeah,
all the
'cause
information
I
on the
do.
phone.
I have
Do you
all
wanna
the
get
phone.
that for me and all that, then
Okay.
that would be great, cause like I said, there's no sense having it getting damaged if we could kind of protect it.
Yeah.
I was
Right.
gonna say, can you get one with a chain to his belt?
Right.
I'm sure they make
Follow
Little
his
Harley
ditch.
wallets.
Okay, and throw in some lens cleaning paper too. You're gonna constantly have to be cleaning those little lenses, camera lenses on
Right.
the front.
Right.
You know, the pictures you take need to be crystal clear.
Oh, they're pretty sharp,
Yeah, they are, unless the lenses get dirty.
right.
What about voicemail?
Yeah,
I
that,
thought of that yesterday, like setting up.
so did it still
the
say it just goes
voicemail.
right to, it's full or whatever?
I haven't listened, I haven't.
Oh, because
you've
I
answered
don't know,
every-
I really don't know how
I
to use
haven't
the
let-
thing,
yeah.
I'm not, you know, it's a smartphone and I'm
So, we need
not the
to,
smartest guy when it
just
comes
gotta
to
try
that
to figure out
stuff.
how to set up the voicemail on it.
I have an iPhone and they're run differently and,
They're totally different.
you know, so definitely
There's a little
not
bit of a
stuff into my
challenge.
wheelhouse or my forte. But, so anyway, but at least it works and it rings and
Takes
does take
pictures.
some nice pictures and,
Sending the video of the backhoe problem was worth a million words.
yes. Yeah, and so far so good with that and hopefully he's got that righted around.
It doesn't dance anymore, huh?
Yeah, I hope not. So we got that. The storms, you know, again, we'll talk, you know, Monday we had that 7 inches and Saturday we had about the same, significant icing on top of that, but as far as I know, no complaints and nobody was really off the road. I helped some old fella out of, he come around the corner on going towards Boulder Beach and he lost it and I threw some salt down and got him out of that, you know, kind of talked him through how to get out of there. But other than that, I don't know of anybody that really had any problems. So that's always good. Tomorrow, the 2019 is going in for its service. The filters, the oil, and all that. I'm going to run that down and have that done. Get it back, get it re-outfitted for another 1 to 3, 3 to 5 coming Wednesday night into Thursday. Yeah.
I heard it's just gonna be rain.
I just heard it might be 1 to 2, turn it over to rain, because Thursday's supposed to be 50 degrees. So
Yeah.
hopefully we get by this one pretty easy. We do have the rubber edges on and they've been helping and thank goodness for that. So when I'm down there with the 19, they do have the parts for the 18 on that oil leak and the water, the washer bottle and all that other stuff that we talked about. So I'm gonna make an appointment to bring that in. That's gonna need to be there a few days. And then when we get that back, it'll all be stripped down and hopefully when we bring it, and hopefully we don't have to outfit it again for winter operations and we can go right into spring and summer mode.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, so those are a couple things on the dock, on the agenda. Clothes allowance. It was always like, you know, before, you know, the 2 full-time guys had like a $300 allowance or something like that. I know Tony's in need of some t-shirts and a sweatshirt or something like that, so am I. We did have an outfit that printed up some nice logoed shirts for us last time. I forget what it was, a couple $100. You know, we all got like 6 shirts, so it was like 18 shirts or something. So I could look into that again and make a move on that if that's still something that we do.
Yeah, you haven't spent any of the budgets per person yet, have you?
No,
You didn't buy boots or anything
No.
like that? That was all last year.
I didn't buy anything last year. Maybe I bought a couple pairs of pants or something, but I didn't use the whole allowance that I had, and I don't believe.
So you
I
wanna
think
buy-
Tony got like maybe $100 to buy something at one point. They voted for years ago. I don't know, but yeah. So I was just looking if we could make a purchase on some shirts if I found that same place that I got them.
You think it's 6 each?
Yeah, something like that. And if somebody comes along, I mean, we probably got to get some for them too. But not knowing who it is, we don't know what
Right.
size or
That can be in the ad.
For sure.
Clothes allowance,
Right.
working clothes allowance.
T-shirt, yeah.
Right, get a free shirt, sign up today.
Plus the other ways.
Right. So,
So he doesn't need a motion for that?
No.
okay, because that's already out there, okay. The springs came from HP Fairfield the other day. So we started fixing some of those wings and the wing arms and stuff like that, getting them a little more rugged. Still waiting for that piece in the front of the plow, piece, you know, Canada and tariffs and getting the runaround or whatever, but you know, that's coming as well. So hopefully we don't do any more plowing, or if we do, the truck holds together. But this I hate to ask or say something about this. Well, one other thing about the trucks is, you know, they never came with floor mats. They're just like rubber mats in the trucks, you know, on the bottoms. Well, you know, and your foot kind of rubs and it wears it off with the sand in there. So we looked at Napa for floor mats, those WeatherTech mats or something similar to those that fit right in. They're like $150 a set for each truck. They are starting to wear holes or getting through on the bottom of those trucks. there are wires like off to where the running, the door and the running, that could get wet potentially or something like that. So I don't know if it's worth getting some doormats for the trucks. I know we're talking about on the DACA, starting to maybe
The Dodges?
trade them in as well, but just food for thought on that. And
So I'd say get the floor mats. I
Yeah.
watch commercials
Yeah.
where the resale value is higher on the car with the floor mats in them, so.
And if
they do make it a little, neater and, they're
This
easier.
would be the first time we bought
Yeah.
floor
Easier to
mats before you
clean.
could look through the floorboards at the road.
Right, I don't want to be like Fred Flintstone out there,
Yeah.
We've done that before.
Yeah, we have.
Okay,
We bought
so
a truck that already had,
A hole in it.
we didn't.
Where do you get
Well,
those
no, we
through?
didn't.
Napa.
Okay.
Yeah, they order them up right through Napa
Nice.
there. So the only other thing I have, and I don't know, the roll we have to roll out the roads with the gravel and all that. I mean, you guys have seen that thing is antiquated. It's every time I roll it the last 5 years, I'm afraid I'm going to lose it behind me and it's going to take somebody out. I mean, and now it's coming apart. We've welded it several times. It's got leaks in it. I don't know how to go forward with it. We have to roll the roads, so you got to rent one, I guess, every time. We could talk to the guy over at Volvo. They've done this type of stuff where you lease to buy them. If we leased it for a season, that money goes towards a purchase. I could talk to the man over there. I know Ossipee did something like that and ended up buying it. It is something I think, it's a vital piece of equipment for what we have, 14 miles of gravel roads that need to be rolled out after you, grade them, calcium, and, roll them out to firm them up. So that is something that's gotta have to be discussed and thought about between you folks, how we wanna move forward with that.
Wow. What sort of dollars are we talking about here?
I'm not really sure. Like I said, I could start making a few phone calls. I mean, to purchase a piece of equipment, I'm sure, size has to be a factor. They make these little small ones, which I don't think will really work. Like Coleman's has a couple of small ones that they rent. They also have a big one, a vibratory one that we've used in the past to rent to really pack it down.
So he's talking about switching from a drag behind to one that you drive, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if drag behinds is still out there or anything like that. And, like I said, this
No.
thing, the one we have is,
Old.
Nancy could tell you, she says it's pretty ancient.
It was old in 2009.
You're coming 20 miles.
Yeah,
I think
Wow.
Tom Baraki made that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Gary Heath used to drive Richard Heath's 30-ton vibratory roller after it was grading. And all the dishes and the cabinets would shake before
Right.
you even got to your house. I mean, it was a
Wow.
powerful machine.
Yeah.
We don't need one of those, I don't think.
No, I'm not, yeah, no,
We're not on
exactly.
highways.
But something needs to,
Yeah.
this thing is pretty shot and it is something that has to, I don't know if it'd be worth even trying to run it this year.
It's another thing to maintain and store.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
But the one I've seen the one you have. Yeah, you it's like a trailer hitch, and
Yep.
they don't make those kind anymore.
I don't know. I've never seen one like that before, like
I'd
Mark
say
said,
get some
somebody
prices on sizes of rentals
Yeah,
first. Let's try that first.
okay,
And then see how inconvenient it is and see what the trade-off is in owning one of these things and having to
Right.
maintain and store it and see.
because the problem with renting, obviously, as we all know, is when you go to rent it, it's already rented out, and when you gotta do the
Yep.
job and those types of things, but yeah, no, I'll.
Our problem is that we own equipment like we're a construction company and use it every day for profit.
Right.
We don't use this stuff every day.
No.
So it gets real expensive.
But that's all I have.
So I talked to the vacuum truck,
Yeah,
and I don't know if you know whether there's two different trucks that they use. This is Belmore.
Yep.
He's talking about a jet truck to clean the culverts.
to blow out.
He's talking about a vacuum truck to. Do you know if it's the same truck or?
I think it's the same truck. It's one of the trucks outfitted with a jetter as well, as far as I know, which is just going to be like high pressure water that they have like an auxiliary tank on it.
1,800 gallons, I think he said.
Okay, so it's going to have that.
So which is way more than what you have
Yeah,
shuttled
that's,
back and forth.
Because that might be two different trucks then, because 1,800 gallons. I think I wanna say their trucks are probably around 2,000, so that's probably a separate truck if they're looking 1,800. So I don't know, you'll have to get a little.
Well, I'll ask him.
Yeah.
So I sent him an email saying, so I wanted to block out the 3 days. You picked days in June.
Yeah.
I was curious as to how you picked those days. Was
Well, because I know the road bands will be off by then, and just,
there given time to put the docks in and,
yeah, we'll be around, and it's just something that,
so I let him know that we're looking at June 16th, 17th, and 18th as 3 possible days. And he was saying there's a shuttle fee if he comes for 1 day, mobilization.
Yeah.
But if it's here for 3 days, he waives the mobilization. So I said, we've never cleaned these basins before, so, and I don't have an exact culvert count yet either.
Yeah.
We have to wait till we can see them.
I think we have 7 to 9 basins.
Counting the big one at the bottom of,
Yeah,
so I don't know if we want to open them up to see what's in them. We talked about whether there's beach sand in there.
right.
Which would be nice, right across from the beach.
Oh, jeez.
So, I don't know when it would be easy to open these things and see what we have, whether they all need to be done. And then we have to, I'd like to take pictures of them and send them to this guy. He said, if you give me the information, I can give you a rough idea of how much
Right.
truck time you're gonna need.
Right.
He said that if he could leave his trucks here, if we were gonna go for a couple of days, 3 days, and his crew would just shuttle back and forth from Meredith, I think. That would be easier for him too. So I guess the more information I can get this guy, the sooner,
Right.
the more he can block the time out for us and say, this is reserved for you and this is how much time you really need. Should be interesting to do these catch basins for the first time they've been installed.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to watch.
And getting the culverts cleaned.
Right.
That might be the way we do it. And then the more after this first time, we'll be better at planning for him for getting this done.
Right.
So that calls in, and he's penciled in June for us. So we got a lot of stuff going on that's gonna take a lot of interaction between me and the FEMA people and
Right.
what you guys are doing. I'll do the FEMA part now while Jeff is here. FEMA's got to the point now, they're telling me exactly how to apply to the state of New Hampshire for the 75% reimbursements. And I'm gonna start next week with reimbursements of work that was done starting right after the storm in July of 2023.
Yeah.
So I have late summer, fall of 2023, which I have the hours and the equipment that was used for those things.
Right.
Then there's everything that was done in 2024 that applies to storm damage only. And then what we do this year,
Moving forward.
which is gonna be a lot of it. So at the same time I'm applying for reimbursements back to 2023, I gotta keep careful details of what's happening in 2025.
Right.
And I'm expecting that we're gonna be using contractors in parallel with you guys doing ditching.
Right.
And I guess we'll start with all of that after the catch basins and the culverts cleared, because you don't wanna ditch and then clean culverts. So that really starts after the 3rd week in June.
Right. Well, I mean, we probably could do other things, but that we aren't, where the culverts are. But
I'm wondering if we can have a plan that, we know where the culverts are, because we wanna get that information
Right.
to the guy with the truck, to Meredith. And then we pick places that we don't have to worry about the culverts getting cleaned after the ditching.
right.
If we can start to break it down into sections like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I have to get to the garage at 6:30 in the morning, or we meet with you regularly at 2:30 in the afternoon and
Right.
swear that I'll have you going home at 3, so I don't get you in trouble. Something like that,
Yeah. I
Well,
can't have my daughter yell at me.
yeah. Long,
We can't have that,
long as she
no.
doesn't yell at me.
Right.
So that's the idea.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna start to submit next week, and the order of things I might have to run by you.
Mm-hmm.
But they want the time cards, and I haven't sent you the spreadsheet that I sent in for Barden and Bergdorf. That's at FEMA. FEMA hasn't said that they're obligated to New Hampshire yet. This is the way it works is FEMA does all this work, and then they tell New Hampshire, okay, this is what we're obligating to the state of New Hampshire for this project.
Right,
Right.
Then I have to apply to the state of New Hampshire, and then they decide whether they give me the 75% on what I applied for.
right.
So I haven't heard, just last week I got Barden's details in, and I haven't heard that FEMA has obligated it to the state. And these are conservative estimates, it's not a lot of money.
Right.
They're only gonna pay us for steel corrugated culvert, 18 inches, because that's what was there, not for the 24-inch smooth bore that we put in. It's only to what it was at the time of the storm.
Right.
So that's $400. And
That pipe costs a lot more than that.
Yeah.
That we put in.
well, the two 20-foot smooth bores were $1,700,
Yeah.
and I got a price from Tractor Supply for a metal one that like what was there, and that was $700, close to $800.
Right.
So it was like buying two of them is $400 less than buying two of the smooth bores that we installed. So that's noise as far as I'm concerned. It's getting them to start to flow the checks in so I can plan this out, budget.
Right,
And we need spreadsheets, separate accounting, I think, for this, to keep track of the cash flow just for this. By the way, I sent cash flow.
Yeah, we saw that,
Okay.
yep.
We'll talk about that another
Yep.
day, okay. So that's what I had, questions for you is, how quickly we can determine how many culverts have to be cleaned by this guy, and send it, I'd like to send him pictures of it,
Right.
and measure the culverts, and send him as much information so he can give us a good estimate of how many days we should plan,
Yeah.
and then start planning. So what you're saying is we should do work before the third week in June
Oh,
to
yeah.
get going on this, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the snow gets by us here and we could get out there and physically look into the culverts better, you know. A lot of them are covered in snow and it's still.
And if you can think about how you would divide the job up into what you know you want our grader and our backhoe to do, and what it is that we need to contract a front-end loader and a mini excavator to do ditching on.
Right,
If you can start to think about how you would separate them out so we can have parallel operations going,
right,
and then I'll figure out the cash flow of how to pay
right.
for the contractors on the flow that's coming from FEMA.
right.
And we also need to get onto a contractor's list for work.
Yeah, true.
Well,
If,
I'm gonna contact the usual suspects.
yes, but,
And it might be talking to Aiden about what he's doing.
mhm.
We could have 3 contractors.
Is the hammering still something that we're gonna look, is that
The
gonna be a
hammering, in
fall
my mind,
issue?
we're doing later in the summer so that he's hammering the ledge and the gravel roads before the temperature drops below 50.
Okay,
And right when the temperature drops below 50, we have them on the paved roads up on the S-turn, for example.
yeah,
That he's here, he's mobilized, and we've got it figured out that he does what he can before the paved roads get hard enough for him to go onto the paved roads.
right, okay,
So I'm thinking October,
okay,
if that makes sense to you.
yeah.
Mark, I came across a culvert inventory that was done. Do you have that?
I have not seen that.
I think it was done, Gloria was involved with that, I think, years ago.
Yep.
This is when they put those metal stakes in the ground with these
Yep.
little tags with
Yes.
numbers on them that washed off.
Yes, but we do have we do
We
have
have
the
the-
inventory.
Okay.
So we have the location of all the culverts.
FEMA's using a count of 290 culverts. And you guys started cleaning culverts in 2023,
Yeah.
which I think I have that all written down. And I guess we didn't revisit it to see what was done in 2024, but what's more important is that we know what we have now that needs to be cleaned.
Right,
And it doesn't overlap into what was done in 2023, because we won't be charging them twice.
Right.
So I know of that list. I don't think I've ever seen it. But that doesn't mean I haven't seen it. I just don't remember a lot of
You
things
want
like
to
I
send
used
it
to.
up? I think I have.
I have it. See if Jennifer have it to find it. You've
Send me a
never seen it?
copy?
I've never
I've
seen
never
it.
seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
That's all I have.
okay. I'll turn it over to you, big guy.
Awesome.
Or they'll turn it over to you.
Enjoy the mud season, my friend.
Yes, we'll see ya. Have a good day.
You as well.
Right.
Hello, hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Do you have things you wanna cover?
The only stuff that we really have is, update on where we're at with Muddy Beach. Outside of that, not much has changed in the last few weeks, so unless you guys have anything new, fun, and interesting. So you guys must have seen the reports on the uranium come back from the well, so obviously we're higher than what we were hoping. That was after maybe 10,000 gallons of flushing.
Higher than they've ever been?
No, I don't think so.
Huh.
Really?
I'd have to, actually, I guess I don't want to be too quick to. I think we had higher numbers about a year ago was when we first had the highest spike. But let me check that and But
But
Pretty
it's the
high to
wrong-
me.
It's the wrong direction on recent trends.
yeah, it also has sat for a very long time. So that's what kind
I
of brings us
wondered about
into. Yeah, I mean, granted, we'd flushed. Do you remember what the total? Maybe 10,000 gallons or something.
Yeah, right around there.
Between the two wells prior to that sample, so it was completely stagnant. We've been continuing to kind of.
And that went out
intermittently-
onto the ground.
Yes.
The reason I'm saying this is, we had a discussion before you got here, and Noah caught the end of it, is we have people out there in the internet
Okay.
that have taken this story and going in the wrong directions, and the public is being misinformed about the situation. For example, one guy writes, we're being told, we were told not to drink this water. And I said, the letter that you got doesn't say that. And somebody else is resurrecting protesting chants from Seabrook Power Plant and using it to apply to
Oh.
the uranium that's in the water.
What?
Okay.
Like, it's
Oh my.
like people are just.
Yeah, it gets a little wacky sometimes.
So if you're on the internet is a big part, it gets presidents elected now.
Sure.
You have to live with it.
Sure.
And we're trying to carefully use our words and plan how we get the message out and
Well, against all odds,
exactly
people.
where it is. It's not the way
I don't
it
think
is.
it'll change much.
This is not the Seabrook nuclear power plant.
No, it's not. Nor is there anything inherently wrong with water. That's your guys' drinking water. So everywhere it gets. Now, granted, we're not currently using those wells, but
Right.
obviously we have no requirement of permitting or anything for discharge
Correct.
on something like that.
So we would prefer not to ever send that water into the system. And we-
agreed.
And
I mean,
it would have
ideally.
been nice if the DPWA well pump stayed running long enough for us to go through 2 years of fundraising and permitting to put well B in and resolve the problem.
Sure.
But the realization is that you suspect that the well A pump could go any moment.
I think, as we discussed
Or
last
it's
week,
trending that it's starting to complain to us.
I
that-
believe it was 7 years in between the last time. It's
Yeah.
been 7 years. We've seen a couple of trips on the well. Now, I don't want to jump to an immediate conclusion and tell you guys that means the pump has failed, but I do think that there's a higher likelihood of that failure coming. So
It's at the end of its
sure, could be
natural
3
life cycle.
years, could be 3 days. I have no
So
idea.
we have to plan as if it's gonna happen sooner than later.
Yes.
So that brought us all the way back around to saying, well, we might have to buy all of the equipment to put into Muddy Beach to get the acceptable level down and use that as the backup just because of the well A pump to prepare for the 3 days that it's gonna take to get that old pump out and get the new pump that we already own into it. And that's an expense, but the real expense is getting rid of the waste. And if the
Yes.
plan is that we just need to buy that equipment and use it only to get us through getting the pump back into well A, then we don't have a lot of waste coming out of it that we're paying $700 a cubic foot.
Give or take.
And I have no idea how many pieces of equipment we need, how much each piece costs, whether there has to be electrical work.
So-
We know we have to put a floor in, and
Here's where we land because obviously without numbers, those are kind of tough decisions
Yeah.
to make. So we can. Here's where I'm at with testing on the well. What I'd like to do at this point, we kind of intermittently been flushing. I haven't resampled that again yet. I'd like to see what I'd essentially like to do at this point is run that well to waste at about 60,000 gallons a day. So with both wells to waste, just kind of couple them together.
onto the ground,
Onto the ground.
not into the system.
Not into the system, onto the ground. And run that to waste. Brings up a quick question I'll ask you guys in a second, but anyway, the process, run that on the ground, let that go for 60,000 gallons a day for a couple of days. You know, one, I want to see at working capacity, how long before I run dry on well 2, how long before I run dry on well 1. 60,000 gallons a day is kind of our low point, right? Realistically, what did we check today?
62,000.
60,000. So we're at kind of minimum usage right now. I mean, great, I'm not saying it's never drops below this, but this is kind of your very low average, right? A month from now, we'll be back up into the high 70s, low 80s, and in winter we can see upwards of 140, 150,000 gallons a day. So keeping in mind, this is best case scenario for something, you know, for to be testing this. But run that 60,000 gallons a day, find out those 2 metrics, how long before I actually run dry in those 2 well pumps. That'll give us a time threshold, but then also I want to pull samples as we've let this thing run as though it's actually feeding the system. And then pull samples on that. Once I have that information, I can have a system kind of comprised for you guys. We don't have to go through engineering or anything. It'll just be something we look at through Supply House and have them put together an idea for us. If it's something you decide to move forward with, the state would potentially require that you get somebody to put together a plan for you. I don't know if they will or won't. But that would then be, you know, we'll see. You know, Nick could spec us some equipment, and, you know, I'd work with him on that to come up with a game plan for it and go from there. So at least we can kind of get a baseline of a couple of things here. How long can we even feasibly expect for these things to run? We have outdated information on it from when Young Trout pumps went down probably 8 or 9 years ago. And it lasted almost an exact week. We have the history from when it went out in the middle of winter, about 3 years ago, 7 years ago, did I say? Yeah, Jesus. God, it feels like it was less than that. Anyway, when we lost it, DPW during the winter, which again, we were at like 130,000 gallons a day. It was New Year's week and you know, in between Christmas and New Year, so like peak usage, and we lost it after like 3 days. So we have like, kind of have that range. Let's see what it's doing now, and also see what those numbers look like after flushing for an extended period of time. The only question I have for you guys on that is, you know, we've been flushing it out the doors. We're kind of going around doing checks and stuff like that. What I want to do is essentially 24-hour, just kind of minimize what the usage coming out of it is. So I'm going to run it at about 40 gallons a minute. That'll equate to 60,000 gallons a day, give or take. So I want to run it like 24 hours continuously until it trips out. So I don't necessarily want to leave the building open like that. Maybe spend a couple hours, put in like a 3-inch pass-through through the door so I can, you know, secure the building, but also run the well out. So that's something we can do. I mean, a couple hours of time, maybe $100 in material to get kind of a pipe through the wall to hook on, cam lock it out, and do a 2-inch feed out the building. So I'll probably start doing that this week, beginning next week, if we're good to go on that, and kind of get some more information, and then we can you know, move forward with most up-to-date timeframes, usages, the levels, and then I can give you guys a pretty good idea what we'll be looking at for size of equipment and everything else. So
worst case, the equipment's gonna fit into the room that's there.
undoubtedly we can fit it in that room. Whether tanks are stacked too deep, because I mean, this is, as the current conversation we're having about it, as using this to a stopgap, right? We look at it as, hey, so I don't think we need to talk about the full, I think maybe I don't even know if we have to pour on a pad for it. I mean, because
Well, that's the next question.
Right.
we look at it as this is temporary, right? I mean, this is a solution to a kind of a redundancy problem that we don't currently have an answer to, so we make it so that we have that answer. I don't know that this needs to be super serviceable. We don't need to turn it into a major production. I think what you're describing is exactly what it is. If this well has to go online, we've got it protected so that we can feel confident with the water we're giving to your customer base. Your upfront cost is going to be something there, whether it's 30 grand or something like that, but let's, you know, the bigger cost is that you don't want to have to spend that again in remediation in 5 years. So this is something we are putting in to look at a solution for the future of, right? So I do think it's going to be pretty low end, because we really can't put in backwashing equipment, or certainly not regenerative equipment. Even if there's a backwash, it would be a manually fed backwash or whatever. So a big part of this equipment, it's usually about 50-50 between media and heads, but head setups and all that stuff, you're going to be able to knock out almost that entire.
Can we just do a timeout for a moment? Did I hear to
Backwash?
to put uranium remediation equipment in the Muddy Beach well house, which we know would be a temporary thing, is going to cost us around $30,000?
I'm throwing out a complete random number. I don't have. I mean, I'm thinking from the concept of it was, you know, I'm just thinking it's similar. It's high flow well over there. You get 250 gallon per minute well pumps, and
Okay,
unfortunately,
let's shelve that for the moment.
Yep.
You weren't here last week, but we knew we were gonna bring this up, this week with you. And Nancy, I know you've changed your mind in 1 week, but what I was brought up last week as maybe a potential solution, and you can tell me right now if this just
Yeah.
won't work, was instead of investing in uranium equipment, if we could plan right now to swap out the DPW pump
Yep.
be sometime between now and Memorial Day.
Yep.
Okay, so we can plan ahead, get the system all charged up, all the tanks filled up, so we get the gravity feed, so it'll go for as long as possible, and then, if we have to bring Muddy Beach on to, supplement.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, because we thought it takes about 3 days, right, to swap out a pump. You need that. That's
It
what
could
took
be
last time.
12 hours. It could be 7 days. That's the only problem I have. If we call and we plan it ahead, right? If you guys say we're going to move forward with getting that pump swapped out, and I call 2 or 3 well pump options, and we tell them, hey, in the next 6 weeks we'd like this done. We can pick a day, and they'll probably be
Right,
over.
and,
you know?
and the other
It's
factor
an
was
emergency.
why I'm saying, well, yeah, but between now and Memorial Days, because this is historically the lowest usage time
Yep.
of the water system.
Yep.
So we thought, because our biggest fear was, we don't want that, if that pump craps out.
And you understand? I mean, well,
You said 3 days or 3 years. Well, 3 days.
well, not for
obviously-
years. No, but anyway, I'm saying it could be anywhere from a few hours. We could call somebody they have availability, because it's not most of the crane rigs are gonna be able to get this thing out. I think the timing when we lost the well pump the last time was really the problem. It was between Christmas and New Year's, and it just
Right.
So did you hear him say he'd like to know whether we could not do the uranium
Yeah.
filtration? That we planned it out that in the down usage time, that's here now, that we could use the current storage system
Mm-hmm.
and have you change the DPWA pump out without having the backup system.
Yeah, so
used.
you're talking about a day and a half of usage of what you guys actually have.
That's the key is your estimate of how long the system's storage could supply water
And
with.
that's an absolute maximum. Those tanks,
He
you're not
said
gonna.
3, you said 1.5. That's a big difference.
Yeah,
no,
and
no,
that's.
no. I was talking about the. You said I can't predict. The pump could go in 3 days. It could go in 3 years.
Right.
The point is, it doesn't matter.
Right.
What matters is we know it's time to swap it out.
Okay, so it's-
let's plan to do that.
Let's break. So, okay, a couple things. One, as you guys saw in the tank, we have room to add capacity to that tank. Because right now we're probably only operating with about 70,000 gallons in that tank, right?
The tower at
Now,
Rhinebeck?
forget it. Is that 90 or 120,000 gallons?
120.
It's 120. So let's say there's 90,000 gallons in that tank. Even still at 90,000 gallons, the bottom 2 or 3 feet is essentially unusable. It's the way it's coned down, and then the pipe comes up in order to not pull sediment off the bottom. So it's not like you got 100% of that water can come out.
And the
So
SCADA doesn't let it go up high?
we can
We
increase
can bring it to high.
No, I can definitely increase it. It's just turnover and stuff like that. We keep it where it's at. But
So
it's-
anyway, your answer to this question is how long the storage could supply it?
So we could increase the amount of water we put in that tank. Let's say at an absolute maximum, we could pull about 100,000 gallons out, and I think that's probably realistic. So at current usages, that's why I'm saying we have more closer to about a day and a half worth of water in that tank. If this is a scheduled event, and this is why I'm kind of going in 2 different directions. If this is a scheduled event, we talked to a couple well contractors. I'm sure within the next couple of weeks we could get somebody over here on a scheduled date. It's only going to take a few hours to swap it out. Obviously, problem one is that we will the well will be offline for probably 3 days. If we can get it scheduled on a Monday, we have to chlorinate the well, we need to flush the well, we need to test the well, and then it goes back online. So best case scenario, assuming we don't get a hit back on the bacteria sample, you're talking probably Thursday before those results come in, because even if you chlorinate day one, it has to sit for 24 hours, has to flush for 24 hours, now you're sampling, right? So that process takes longer than in an emergency. You guys could opt to chlorinate, flush, and put online with a preventative boil order or something, right? Obviously that's something we want to avoid. So
Yeah, we were calculating 3 days to get the system.
and
back
I think in
online.
reality, you're
Yeah.
probably 3 to 5, right? I mean, 3 would be if somehow, we could really push the envelope on it. I don't know, maybe get a company that's willing to turn over a bacteria sample quicker, or I don't know, something.
We wouldn't plan this way.
No, so we're talking 3. But by plan, you'd be talking 5 days would be a pretty safe guess. And then, God forbid, you got that bacteria hit, you're going through that process again, right? So not having the redundancy. Now, granted, legally and even ethically, you guys can turn that well pump over at Muddy Beach on, right? we obviously are all of the same mindset that that is something we want to avoid. I appreciate that, and I think that's a good idea. But at the end of the day, you do have that backup in order to potentially save, as we're talking about, say $30,000 or I don't know, 20 to 40, right? I don't know. Depends on the size of the equipment and the amount you need. But take it the step further. Changing it out, while that's a great idea, okay, and we are obviously doing the best we can to safeguard ourselves, you're never going to control Mother Nature, and a big lightning strike that hits it, or who knows, anything can happen, right? And in our world, we're always trying to think of what are those possible. You're never trying to shoot yourself in the foot, right? I mean, it's going to happen. You're going to have a hurricane come through that floods out water mains and things, but knowingly taking something offline without having a feasible backup is, it's just not. It's not a great idea.
That's why the first question was, without bringing Muddy Beach on, you think a day and a half, even during this low season, is all we've got
Of storage.
of storage?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So-
we need more than that.
All right. So then we bring Muddy Beach up. We were talking about, we'd notify everybody that we'd recommend then you use bottled water for these couple of days, but
Now you still run your risk, and as we are right now, that if we get into, you could change that pump out, and 6 months from now that pump fails. Now, do I expect that? Is that in the 99%? No, it's in the 1% chance category, right? But there is a chance that happens, and we know what the risk is if that happens. So while I am not, I understand balking at doing something for Muddy Beach, that could end up being a long-term solution for you guys. It's a short-term, long-term solution. You know what I mean? Muddy Beach wouldn't even have to, even if you got DPW A and B, Muddy Beach doesn't even have to come off. You guys can keep having that as a redundant source to your
Right.
system. After that investment you make might be a 30-year investment. You might, if you only ever use Muddy Beach when you're in dire need of backup water, that uranium equipment might last for decades. So,
Having it as an asset, using it as a liability
yeah.
because of waste.
So,
So I like the idea. I'm not hung up on 30 grand to
Yeah,
buy the
yeah.
equipment, to get it in there and have a quality backup system.
that could
And
be a
then not
very
use
long-term
it,
one.
not use it wherever possible.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, you only use it if you
Okay.
absolutely have to, and then you could even conversate about, depending on where those levels come, who knows? Future change, as you guys are aware, this has changed on the upward. It can also change to the downward. I'm not saying it's going to, but anything can happen, right?
We can turn it into a car wash down there.
What's that?
We can use it as a car wash.
Yeah. But if you get to a blended point where, say, our uranium levels are only 25% over the limit or 50% over the limit, which I'm minimizing, but you can really extend lifespan by just saying, hey, we're going to come out of this thing, which is what you guys have always done at Muddy Beach. We were always within about 20% of the limit. So say we were running at 15 parts, 17 parts, 12 parts. It's always been there. We're just always maintained under the limit. You could blend it out so only 75% of your water is going through your uranium equipment, or so that the outlet flow of it is still at 15 parts or something. Now, or we could say, hey, we want it at 0, and you put 100% of your water through it. But as we're talking about costs of this investment, if we can reduce the amount of water going through the equipment, we would obviously reduce the cost to install that equipment, because the biggest thing we're going to be up against is flow rate, and looking at 100 gallons a minute between 90. Anyway, 90 to 100
So that
gallons a minute
determines
between
the
the two
cost.
pumps, if they're running together, which is what needs to happen if we're going to actually supply the system for more than like a day. You would need to have both pumps going, which means you have both available to go through the uranium
Right.
equipment, which is just a lot of pretty
Okay,
big.
So what I'm
tanks.
hearing here is we're sort of steering toward a plan where, yeah, we have to swap out the DPW pump pretty soon. I'm not saying between now and Memorial Day, but that
Yeah.
was what we talked about last week.
Yep.
But also proceeding with the uranium mitigation equipment in Muddy Beach, which you said would be a short-term, long-term solution. I think you're saying now you had no problem with that being there for a long time. And then the ultimate thing is DPW well B.
Yeah, and like I said, I totally get where you're coming from. I just, from an operational standpoint and trying to mitigate risk wherever we can, and I always balk at taking. I mean, although you guys at times use a pretty good chunk of water. 100,000 gallons a day is a lot of water and more. But those are still very high yield wells. Although we kind of look at them, oh man, they're not producing enough and only doing 40 gallons a minute, and you can only get them for a week. I mean, it's still producing 50,000 gallons a day consistently, and that's a lot of water. So I balk at just abandoning a source like that. It's like, it's there. I mean, one of the hardest things people are doing now is even finding water in general. So you've got a good water source there. I think to have it protected and safe, that if you have to use it, then it's something that, like I said, you could see that that's a solution for decades down the road. So that's why, you know, it's not like you spend $30,000 today for, or again, we're using that number, but you're not spending a large chunk of money now for just that 2-year fix. That stays there. That stays as a viable option when you're
Well,
doing.
see, that's the paradigm I'm still at, because we were talking about, well, what if we did that? Well, we could do that, and then we could sell that equipment 2 or 3 years down the line when we have DPW well be in. But now I'm hearing, no, it stays there
It
permanently.
stays there. Yeah.
And I don't.
For a long, so we have a backup source to the DPW wells for however many decades afterwards. Okay, so that's a change from our discussion last week. I'm okay with that, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong.
And part of it could also, I go to Jungfrau, and a lightning strike
Right.
takes Jungfrau down. Well, that makes your DPW wells inoperable,
Yeah.
because they have to go to Jungfrau.
Yeah, we have.
So,
Yeah.
you know, so it is one of those things where, to keep it as a long-term
Back up.
backup,
Mighty Beach goes up to Rhinebeck.
right,
Okay.
could be, you
A
know,
good thing, if Jungfrau were
Yeah.
to take a hit.
right.
Which we've had, like I
Right,
said,
and it's happened.
We lost the Jungfrau. The
Yeah.
that one that I'm talking about from 9
Yeah.
years ago or whatever was the
Yeah.
loss of Jungfrau, not the loss of DPW. That
Right.
We had to get new pumps inside of Jungfrau. So, yeah, you know, I mean, there's a number of occurrences, and anytime you have the luxury, I guess, of controlling as many of the side steps that may come up. It's nice to do that, you know, and so. While, like, from a residential standpoint, obviously what you're describing, obviously, you know, I mean, as a single resident, something go without water and save, you know, $5,000, absolutely, I would do it in a heartbeat, you know, for like a week or two or whatever, you know, you figure out some other situation. For a public water system, I think, you know, just covering as many bases as we can, because you guys have the source, you have the option. If there was no option there, then you do what you got to do. But we do have that option. So I would, I guess, just say highly suggest that's the route we move in. But obviously, at the end of the day, you guys get to make that choice. So.
Yeah, and I would think we would want to have the equipment online before
we do the well pump.
pull the
Yeah.
DPW well.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
everything's, but you know, as you know, whatever the saying is, you plan for the worst, hope for the best, and that's because that's what happens when you haven't gotten your backup. It'll go great 10 times in a row, but then when you don't have a backup plan, that's when all of a sudden the casing has a crack in it, and they say, "Oh, this is gonna be 2 more weeks." It's like, "Oh my God, we can't do that." You know, it's
Yeah.
like
Right.
something completely unforeseen comes up that you thought was impossible. You put the pump in and it's dead in the box, you know, and you're like, "How's this possible?" Right? It never happens, but. Those are the times when it seems to be, you know, Murphy's Law, whenever you don't have your backup plan in place is when the thing that's never supposed to happen happens. So,
Okay, so on a logistical and
Yeah.
practical level, putting this uranium mitigation equipment into Muddy Beach doesn't require any sort of large, long-term engineering design. I mean, that's something you can do.
again,
Just-
it's definitely something we can do, but
You know,
it's,
if we pull the gun, pull the trigger, you can
so,
just do it.
Because it's a treatment change, the state may require an engineering drawing on it, but that's, you know, you got Nick, and Nick would put together you're not talking about a massive, you know, study that goes into this. And I'm not even sure if they would make you do that. So I'd have to dig.
And you've
over
done this
it.
before with other water systems, put in these uranium mitigation
Yeah.
systems?
Yep.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, we can get a little more information on that and find out what you guys would need on drawings and whatnot. But this is pretty basic stuff. So it's unfortunate. I mean, the media is $400 or so a cubic foot, and then you get the tanks, and then you get the installation. So depending on how big those tanks get and how much media has to go into them, that's where the cost is. I mean, there's a lot of it gets up quick, you know. So it's just one of those things that we'd have to figure out what we can and can't get away with. But that's it. So I would, I think so from our end, to kind of help answer some of those questions is, like I said, what our next step is to kind of mock run Muddy Beach to waste,
Right.
take those samples, see how long they run until they trip, and then go from there. So,
Okay, I got one other concern with Muddy Beach is, okay, if we were to proceed with this, fine. If we need to lay down a concrete pad, or you were last week talking, could it be like a wooden deck?
I think we minimize it as best we can. You have a stone floor. If we can level that out without pouring concrete, I mean, if you get a little pad in there, say you got to put a couple $1,000s into that, it's not going to be the.
That I'm not concerned about.
Okay.
That's easily done.
Yep.
Okay, whatever way you go. But the tank itself, nobody knows what the inside of that thing looks like, because
Right.
there's no access hatch. So we discussed way back when.
Well, yeah, this is we're going to get into our circle here, because that's I think where this original conversation came from,
Yeah.
is just talking about, hey, where's Muddy Beach at? How much money do we have to invest into it to make it a viable source, right? If you get forced into where we're kind of at now, when you start, I mean, these decisions, I guess they're fluid at times until you get all the information figured out.
Can I just cut in
Yeah.
on my thought here? I mean, plumbers have these snake video cameras. They go through lines left and right to see what your sewage line looks like. Can something like that be done into the tank?
I mean, now's not a bad time to do it. We could absolutely drain that tank, pop the hatch off it, and put a light in there. I mean,
hatch.
I thought there
crap,
wasn't
there
any
is no
access
hatch.
hatch.
Right? Yeah. Problem one. There is no
If there
hatch.
was a hatch, we could do
Okay.
it.
Oh,
So-
you know of a hatch we
So
don't?
jumping, yeah, there you go.
That's why I suggested
Herein lies the
snake video
problem.
camera.
Sorry, yeah.
So maybe you could do an interior inspection, see what it looks like.
Pop open, one of the 2-inch or something like that. I mean, your other alternative here is, the tank companies or a welder of whatever sort can weld in an access hatch on these tanks. So you could there's nothing stopping us once we do what we've done. I mean, you see Muddy Beach has been kind of kicking around as offline for a while here. At some
That's the more
point in time,
costly solution. A low-cost solution is just figure out what it looks like on the inside with a camera inspection.
yeah, we go in and
Well,
down through the vent.
To
and
do
take
it
a look.
right, you need to measure the thickness of the blisters.
If you
and then-
wanted an actual
then you
tank
take the blisters
inspection,
off and then you measure it again, and
Yeah.
then you.
you'd have to clean it out and then do a metal gauge thickness around it. But to just even see, because the big story, if I remember correctly with this, is that it's thought to be a buoy, and so there's baffles on the inside. There's a bunch of big steel walls that kind of, so it wouldn't slosh around if it got
Yeah, if it's
water.
out in the open ocean, so it doesn't. Yeah.
So whether I have no idea, right? I mean, and this is these stories have a way of just carrying on generationally here.
May
So I've been doing this for 20
may just
years.
be the urban myth,
But so I have no idea. I think that probably comes originally because there isn't a hatch on it. And everyone said, well, it's not a tank if there's no hatch, right? I mean, that's never what it was intended
Wow.
to be.
We should get in there and evaluate the tank, but that is not the priority in the
Okay,
scheme
yeah.
of
Right.
getting.
So
Tank
that
is holding up. It's
Pump
yeah.
changed.
right. Okay,
Um,
that'd be a further.
I do
down
think
the road.
that becomes a, hey, what is this becoming? What does this look like in the future? Do you want to
Right.
increase your storage there? Do you want to, inspect the existing tanks? You go from A to B. But yeah, step one is, as they always look at, is the source. You gotta have water that you are comfortable putting out in the system. Is step one, and yeah, I think we've
So you wouldn't object to a pressure-treated wooden deck going inside that building?
The only problem with that is, I don't care. I would probably prefer to put it on stone, just because there's gonna be some weight to these things, and I'm not saying the deck can't support it, but I'm talking like weight. Couple tons per tank isn't gonna be out of the question. So this is one of those fill-in-place setups. So while we can come up with different ideas, I don't know if you could make that pressure-treated deck sturdy enough to take it. You'd probably be you're going to be splitting hairs between concrete and that at that point, between the labor and the material. So I don't know that there's going to be anything stopping us from just kind of wedging them into the floor. They're not going anywhere, So it's like that might not be terrible if we're really looking like, hey, this might be something we're going for a long time. We don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot and be,
Right.
why didn't we just put a base in here? I mean, literally for a pad like that, it'd probably have to get it reinforced for what we're talking about, but it's going to be a couple $1,000. It's not going to be,
So we need-
monumental to the
reason I'm
cost.
asking is that's the first step, is we need to move down that, even if we haven't finalized all our
Right.
decisions.
Find out how big of an area we're going to need, depending on how, because we can put some pretty large tanks. As it goes, as you increase the diameter of the tank, you obviously increase your surface area by a significant amount. So. We're at a luxury where we can put some pretty wide body tanks in there. We put 4-foot or even 6-foot tanks in. So we're going to be able to fit a lot in a couple of tanks. So that footprint might not end up being a huge ordeal. A lot of systems have to put a bunch of like little 2-foot, 12 2-foot tanks, just because of the way they have space to be able to maintain, walkways and stuff. Whereas that's just not the case for yours. We
So you're saying that the optimal solution in your mind is a poured concrete pad?
I would say if we want to do something long term, I would take the concrete over.
You pour that right over the stones.
Again, yeah, we don't need to overthink it. I think it's that would be the way to do it.
Okay.
maybe compact it a little bit and then hit it. And like I said, they'll probably do some rebar coming off the walls to probably ideally go wall to wall and support it, and so it's not just floating. But yeah, we'll get that information ironed out. But I think step one is going to find out what does this look like as we continue to flush it down and run it at normal use, and how long do we even have with it, and what can we expect out of it, and all that fun stuff.
Mark, would a complete pad in there mitigate moisture issues as well?
I mean, yeah, undoubtedly, if you poured the whole floor, plastic and poured it, and did something along those lines, it would certainly help with the moisture. Anytime you're kind of adding more sealant to the floor, cost of doing that versus running the humidifier, I don't know, because unfortunately, I mean, part of what has stopped us at this point is we'd have to actually dig the floor out at this point in order to add concrete into it because of how the project that was done there a few years ago, the height of the pipes and the pumps and stuff like that, we'd actually have to make room for concrete versus something like this, like a pad where we can just pour on top. So it does actually change the dynamic of the project quite a bit in labor to have to do that. Now, if that's something you guys want to explore, then obviously we can. So, but
Seems like it would make sense that we did a pad where the tanks would be.
Yeah. Makes sense to me.
I don't have a picture of how big that pad has to be.
Right. It's,
and we'll find out because again, whether it's a 4-foot tank or 6-foot tank or a 3-foot tank, and 4 of those, I mean, just
You're talking about a pad that doesn't take up the whole floor space, like half of it?
right.
for a quarter of it.
Just to
Or a fifth of
accommodate
it.
the equipment.
So half of it?
I think a fifth of it would probably be about what it all depends on the width of those tanks, but if we had 4-foot tanks or something, obviously you're only gonna need a pad on that. We're gonna be doing it up against probably where the humidifier is, the dehumidifier is now.
The
Move
left
that.
wall?
Yeah, and we'd move the dehumidifier to a place that isn't in the way.
So we'll get a price on putting a pad in for half the room on the left side. So you have to walk over the rocks.
To get
You're
to
not
the
getting away from
pad.
that, Noah.
No,
You're leaving the pad, you have to walk on the rocks.
we wear our mountain climbing boots when we go over. No, just kidding. So yeah, that's. I think we got some more information I'd like to garner over there before
Yeah.
trusting the numbers. I do think obviously the numbers are a little spiked, but the system's been inactive in comparison to the way that system's obviously run for the last forever, to 10 years or whatever. It's been very inactive, right? So I mean, that's first thing I tell like a well owner. We get a report that's brand new well or it's been stagnant for a long time. Flush it, right? Flush it before we trust the numbers. So let's flush it some more, and I'll get it at that mimicked daily flow type thing, and then we'll see where we're at.
What about comms?
Oh yeah, that's the only other thing I want to talk to you guys about. 'Cause
Okay.
I know Tom was in here. If we're ready to move on past Muddy Beach.
Yeah, he's working on we had a conversation with him, and he's ordering the computer.
Okay.
There was a holdup on the type of computer, so we've fixed that, and so it's just gonna be his programming time.
Because he called me when he was in here. He wasn't here anymore when I drove by, so I didn't end up running into him. But
Yeah, he was supposed to come back that Friday, he never came back.
so he's still obviously we haven't regained
Not
the
really.
the dial or anything.
No,
'Cause I
I
haven't seen
did
anything.
figure out the phone number.
Oh, yeah, what was I telling him? Some like Connecticut number.
Yeah,
the crack in my
but
screen
the
was
actual phone number
yeah.
was disconnected. It was
Oh,
not
it was no longer
service.
active.
I reactivated it.
Oh, good. Okay, well, there's step one.
So
So-
hopefully it'll work now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Cool.
not that I want anything to happen or,
No, but I mean,
But-
honestly, when it's active, we usually get an alarm every couple days at minimum.
Really?
Just stupid stuff like, I don't know. There's always little hiccups that kind of, this system is designed to self-correct. So, I mean, even if a pump runs longer than it's supposed to,
I
and
suppose.
it just kind of, it fixes itself.
But you
Does
have to
Tom
find
know that
everything.
you fixed
Yes,
the
I
phone
told
number?
him that that's what I was doing.
And does Tom think that it should work because the number works?
Well, he
or
was
his-
expected to come back into the
that
office.
his
To-
plan
to
was he needed to
verify.
come back and that
Correct.
didn't happen.
That's
So you don't
right.
have an auto dialer yet? You don't have a...
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't seen
Can't
anything come through.
Confirm that,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, do we need to follow up with him and make sure that he comes back? Because I think the alarm system is pretty important.
Pretty key.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Having access to log me in and then the alarm dialer, those two are very like 1 and 1A
Yeah, you should
of,
be all
of
set with the
importance
log
to
me
me.
in too.
Yep, I haven't had any issues
All right,
with
great.
that.
And also he's gonna run a landline down into the
Did you say there was one already running down there?
Yeah, it already
already there?
exists.
Did you-
Okay.
Do you say you wanted to put a splitter on it?
Yeah.
'Cause it was running down
Wants to
there
do
for
a
the
split
purpose.
so that he can put like a,
Laptop?
Yeah, we told him to get a cheap
Laptop,
laptop
any
for
small-
down in your
Because it
camera.
was- it
And
felt
that
like it was
hasn't
getting
been done yet
convoluted,
either.
so.
No?
So that needs to, we need a checklist for him, and we need to get him to stay focused on
Yeah.
that.
I think we were on the same page by the time you left, but that's all I need is just access. I want like a log me in style thing that's just down there, so when we come in to do stuff, we just
Yeah.
pop it in. So, because I think he was heading down the path of like another computer setup. I'm like, no. I
Yeah.
want just like an access. It could be a freaking
right. Like a little
$99
laptop.
tablet.
But,
I
but
just
he
need
was
that.
tablet or
squared away at
something.
the office when we talked about it more at the
Okay.
office.
Just to make sure, because I know obviously you'll get a quote from him, and we'll make sure we're not doing anything we don't want.
Will Jennifer call him to see when he's coming back? Is that what you wanna do?
Just keep on top of him, yeah. You know what happened last time.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that.
Do you wanna do that? Give him a call, see when he's coming?
Sure.
Thank you.
And just let me know if he needs me here. We can figure out to
Right.
get here when he's here or whatnot.
Sure.
That for us, I mean, that's the long and short of it. The only other seasonal stuff's coming up. We're hopefully be shutting bleeders off. Obviously, we wait until we don't have a ton of groundwater and
Yeah.
stuff. We have more risk of getting mud into the top of the curb valve boxes than we do, freezing at this point. But it's so we just kind of
It's
gauge
still
that
in the
by
snow right now.
under snow and ice and everything. So we just wait until we can get them off in like 2 or 3 hours as long as it's not frost and not iced up and not. So we just kind of wait until it's a pretty accessible thing. Go around for a half day and knock those out. Seasonal flushing, we'll let the office know. Do our best to give about a week window of when. That's usually a 1 to 2 day, depending on how it goes.
Yeah.
Process, but we kind of usually ask for like a week block just in case the day changes. Whatever things go askew.
Right,
Give
and
people
that's
an idea
something
what
that
they're
goes
looking
on
at.
the website. For the week before they're expected to come in,
Yeah.
it needs to be on the website that flushing is gonna occur.
People see
so that people
yeah.
know.
Oh, because it didn't happen last time.
There's occasional,
Yeah, I don't think it did.
yeah, it probably didn't.
Yeah.
Thank
But there
God.
are occasional,
Water outages.
outages,
Oh,
small outages
really?
here and there, so people might notice.
Water clarity,
that there's
air.
a little, or that there's air in their line and things like that, so we do.
even at Muddy Beach?
No,
Oh,
these-
I'm talking about like the
Just
whole
the
water
whole
system
system
flushing,
flushing.
not
The entire water
flushing at
system.
Muddy Beach, flushing the
Oh,
whole.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm not
The
aware
entire-
of any of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's it's something we'll work with you on. But we got I'll be
Okay.
letting you know.
All right,
you guys
great.
have a way of putting it out there. So we try to give you about a week's notice or 7-day notice so that you can
Beautiful,
tell
post
people the
it
week will be here so
and
that
Right.
put it on
when they
okay.
see air, they're not freaking out thinking the system's
Gotcha.
got a problem that they. Most people are pretty aware of it now at this point.
Right.
But it
Okay,
just
great.
when they'll see it and check and say, oh yeah,
This
okay, they're
happens
flushing.
yearly?
Twice a year
Twice a year.
typically.
Oh,
yeah.
twice a year, okay.
That's it. I mean, I think we're gonna try to get leak detection in here. I know that you guys had, I think, talked about maybe getting the state leak detection. I was just gonna work with Granite State. We usually try to pull 2 or 3 days a year with those guys to just pick a zone and, we'll do. Everything looks pretty good right now, but undoubtedly we have some loss somewhere. The big loop is usually the hardest part to do by shutdowns. We try to do that with leak detection, them listening and seeing if we're getting anything crazy going around there. I mean, if we find a dead end, they'll hone in to actually locate for repair. But for general upkeep, we just usually just have them do a day or 2 days, 3 days of just kind of checking stuff out, walking the area. And,
Was there an actual leak last week on Little Loop?
No.
No,
okay, I don't think I even heard about it.
There was water showing, they concluded that it was a culvert that was frozen and had gravel in it. And they used this long 1-inch drill. And drilled through it and the water just came
Ripped
pouring
out of it.
so-
This time of year, this is that time of year that we have to be like, you're gonna get leak reports, and what we do is we just essentially go off. I'm not saying that maybe there isn't something, but we just go off the usage and we don't chase it until
Right.
if we see a spike up off one of the systems or if we see the general usage jump up or whatever, then we'll put more boots on the ground for it. But we really have gotten into the habit of just kind of virtually ignoring it. It's crazy, some of the things you're going to be positive they're leaks, and we've all seen them bubbling up out of the middle of a road or
Yeah,
coming out of a bank and
right.
shooting a foot, and you're like, that's a leak, and it's not. So
Yep.
the groundwater does crazy things this time of year. So for the next 6 weeks or so, we now again, obviously, if you guys want us to come look at it, we're happy to do it. We're in here a couple of times a week for
Yeah.
checks. We'll at least do a flyby. I guess what I'm saying is we don't put a ton of, if it's not showing up as a
Yeah.
usage leak, then we don't really put a lot of work into it. It might be a leak that's been there for 30 years, who knows? And then now, so we're gonna cut our usage by 10,000 gallons a day. But we'll do that after things dry up and we can be more confident that it's not just groundwater, so.
Number 1 Bristol stock service line.
Yep, he's off. He was off after the last meeting. He's fine. We're coordinating getting that replaced. So
You're gonna dig that?
yeah,
So you're gonna wait until you can get in the
he
ground?
has. He's not really coming back up until June at this point.
Oh,
So
okay.
we're gonna. Obviously, I told him we would have been 6 weeks anyway. With the can't do it during the mud. It's too much of a banking. So you'd have to wait till things are dried up there too. So he did ask. I told him, obviously, like we would do for anybody to yes, if we could inspect his existing line and look at it, I said, yes, we could do that. I said, but, the report back is it has to be 6 feet deep, proper line, buried in sand. I said, you and I both know that's not gonna be the case. But I will let you, he wants to spot check it before we keep going, so I will do that. And if there's anything to ask you guys about, I will. But as is the case 99.9% of the time, I don't expect there to be any salvageable situation there.
Right.
So I'll let you know.
If we move forward with a plan to put isolation valves on either side of the Grissom culvert, is Simply Water interested in that project?
Yeah, I think we'd look at it. That's just, we're talking about that couple 100-foot extension from the current dead end back to
No.
Aspen.
Grissom. Putting isolation valves on either side of the Grissom culvert,
Just putting the isolation valves in?
just the isolation
Oh,
valves.
yeah. We'd be happy to look at that.
So are you also interested in the Bergdorf? Because that's gonna be, Nick is gonna create a document that's a bid package on it, because that's a couple 100 feet of pipe
Yep.
going under the Grissom, the Bergdorf culvert.
Yeah, we'd be interested in looking at that one. It's not necessarily, we dig like line, but getting in, like that culvert in particular is a thing that I don't know.
I don't know if that's a larger machine, because I think
Yeah.
we're also gonna put in a separate project for that same contractor, that if they do the water line, that all the rock that they may come across is gonna be put on the output of the Bergdorf culvert. The DPW guys want a stoneway to handle erosion control of the water that gushes out of that thing in the springtime.
Honestly, something like that, while we can look at it, that's probably something better we just
I don't
work.
think your machine has the reach.
We can get them, obviously, but
Yeah.
it's just not, that's kind of outside of what we
Not up
tend to
your
do.
alley, yeah.
Keep it smaller than that.
You'd be
you know.
involved in that project. one way
Yeah,
or
and we'd be
another
busy probably shutting the mains down and dealing with them on flushing and everything
Right.
else. So it's a little bit, that'll tie up some of our time anyway on working with the contractor on that one, so.
So I don't know if there needs to be a big spec for the 2 isolation valves on either side of the valley, as close to the valley so that we have all possible lot development covered by being on the outside of these 2 isolation valves.
Yep,
I have the tax maps where I marked off where the ideal location is for it.
okay.
Hopefully
I
the
think you said
DPW
that.
gets to put in a mitigation ditch across that closed road to keep the next flood
From,
from unearthing the pipe again.
yeah, right.
That we have it travel across the road.
I would seriously consider, as you guys spec this out, maybe even pouring the new water main that's buried 1 billion feet under that culvert. Maybe pouring it in like a 2x2 foot encased concrete section, 100 feet or
You
something.
back at the Bergdorf color?
Either one of them,
Both
whichever,
of them?
yeah, whichever one if you're digging in and around and under them, if that opens up again, that's probably a worthwhile. We do it when we cross like other utilities and stuff.
Gotta
You
make
gotta-
sure I understand, because FEMA told me last Tuesday, they asked me if I wanted to go ahead and do a design on what they think may be a lower cost culvert solution and put it the arched metal culvert in, 2 concrete footings on the floor, and have the stream flow between the 2 concrete footings, and they construct by panels an arched metal culvert. Now, if you're talking about dropping the main down, so you're gonna angle the pipe down and have it go underneath.
Is that's, it goes under the culvert currently, so, right?
It's over the original culvert.
Because the culvert's so damn deep,
It's
right?
14, it's 14 feet down.
Right, so it's over the culvert, right?
Right.
So-
Wow.
It's way over
Right,
the
it's
culvert.
in
Jesus.
between.
Yeah, no,
between.
boy, I guess that would be, you'd be freaking 20 feet deep underneath
Jeez.
that culvert.
Well, if you wanted to be 6 feet below the bottom of the brook, that pipe would have to drop
Yeah, you're talking a
down.
major operation at that point to move the groundwater around and get that kind of depth. No, I don't think that's probably a feasible,
One of the
doesn't,
things it would do is eliminate that overflow culvert, which was over the water main, but it's only a couple of feet over the top of the water main, if you're picturing it at all.
yeah, no, I am now. Cause there's the one larger one and the, you know,
Which was put in the wrong place, which didn't protect the pipe.
might be worth looking at something if there's like some means of doing that, but I don't think it's going down under, depending on how deep that is, if it gets down, you know, I mean, no matter what, the brook's running at what, 12, 14 feet below the road height, right? So you're talking pretty deep situation there, so, I guess all things equal, I mean, which is obviously the point of putting in these valves so we can isolate it down, all things equal, I guess you just keep doing what you're doing, it's probably the cheaper. And now it's sustainable because you're not losing water, you know, I mean, yeah, obviously during the exact emergency until somebody gets there to shut the gate valve off, but outside of that, people aren't going a day or two without water as repairs get made, so. This is a feasible way of controlling the situation, I wasn't thinking of how deep that culvert is.
Wow.
And if we could protect, I was thinking it was already under it, but no, it's not, it's definitely over it, so. You can't have hanging concrete, you know, I mean, not without overthinking it significantly, so.
FEMA sent us a worksheet that said that they estimated that it'd be 180,000 versus 560,000,
For the different design,
excluding the cost of excavating that 14-foot dam out of that valley. Then it's 170,000, and then the cost of putting the fill all back in.
boy. Culverts, man.
Well, putting a culvert at the bottom of a 14-foot ravine in 1962
Yeah.
turns out not to be a great idea.
What about a bridge?
Well, the box culvert
the
and
box
the arch
culvert
culvert,
It's like
that's a
It
bridge
is a bridge,
It is a
right?
bridge.
with a pipe through it.
Right. Crazy.
Yes.
But yes, the gate valves, that's exactly the kind of stuff that we do on it, you know, as a routine,
So that's something that
Or curb it, it's 2-inch, anyway, curb
there's
gates.
there's no urgency to do that immediately, but the better, the
Before
sooner,
storm season.
sooner the better, but it can be kind of at your convenience too of your planning.
Yep. No, that sounds great.
If
Yeah.
that's okay with you, is that
Yeah.
Simply Water just puts those two isolation valves in, and FEMA is deciding whether they're gonna pay some reimbursement as mitigation.
Oh, for putting in the
They won't-
isolation?
They don't wanna put the 200-foot piece of pipe in a Bergdorf,
Kind of an upgrade.
but the mitigation guy said that it's still on his drawing board to possible give us mitigation money for those two isolation valves.
Cool. Yeah, those should be
On Grissom,
On Chris.
yeah.
1 to 2 days, just depending on how could go real smooth, so, that's not a major project at
So what I'm
all.
picturing is the DPW builds a ditch, because that road is closed.
Mm-hmm,
So, and then lines it so that when the tide comes up, the water can flow over that road without taking the gravel with it,
mm-hmm,
and protects the pipe until this big project is done or not.
right,
Might even be a turnaround built into that scheme, because the plows come down at night now, and they have to turn around at these closed roads. And
yep,
there's a house right there with kids that doesn't like the headlights of the plow at midnight lighting up the house. So the plot thickens and
always, right, yeah, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, it's just how it goes. But, yeah, so that's, I think I may have already got you a base number on that, but I can get you an actual cost on those. And then, anything I'm missing on this?
No.
Okay. Cool. All right, well, I think that's what we got, if you guys don't have anything else.
yeah,
going
we're
on.
just looking forward to climbing up on that water tower in January.
Yeah,
Again,
seeing
yeah.
it all that stuff.
I want
It
to see
was
the ice cube
very,
inside bobbing.
what's the word? Not counterintuitive, kind of a letdown.
Yeah,
I mean, not that we wanted to see a
Anti-
giant ice cube.
anticlimactic.
Anticlimactic. That's what I'm trying to think of. Kind of like here we go. Just a big tank of water. So,
So let's just scream in it.
which is really great news in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
But it's it was kind of
I hadn't thought that
past the.
pouring 50-degree water on it through February would have melted what was
I
ever.
know.
Yeah. I mean, like you saw. I mean, it was melted 4 feet out from the whatever,
Yeah,
3
yeah,
feet out
yeah,
from the
yeah.
tank.
No
Just that
snow
heat of the
around
water.
the perimeter.
Even on the
Right.
north side of the
Wow.
tank.
Yes, moving around,
Wow.
just thawing stuff out.
He
So
told a story.
It's kind of
yeah,
good though.
right. So yeah, we'll have to put eyes on it. January 20th when it's negative 14 out and see what it looks like. That'll be
You
more
can send me the video.
exciting. Yeah. I actually have to hook onto that tank for that one, so it'll slip off. But
Be well bundled up.
all right, guys, excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch. I think we got. Has any other? We got one tie-in that was, I think, 44 burn or whatnot.
Yeah, the one that do.
Anyway, across from I think Sarnen that was tagging on from last year. They weren't doing their construction last year, so we saved it till this year. So we get that tie-in. I don't. No others have come in.
Too, right?
No, I don't have
I'm
anything
thinking
coming.
it's only one that we had from last year.
Yeah.
that
Are they
was
talking
carrying
about
over.
Noah's
I
house?
think that,
He said across from Simon. I think the owner's first name is Noah.
I think that's
Right on
the
the corner
one.
The corner of Burn and Sarn there, right?
Okari?
It's an existing
Simon-
connection
oh, no,
that you
no,
guys
I'm
that
thinking
we already have
I'm
like a
thinking
work
about
order for.
Platts and Hutwell.
Because there's obviously other building lots that haven't either
Oh, no,
applied
no.
or I don't know what, because you can see there's
Yes,
still
it
building.
definitely is.
Okay,
Yeah.
Just
so
the frame, the frame has sat there all winter, I think.
Yeah, it has.
I just wanted to make sure we didn't have like 4 of them waiting to be done.
Nope.
So if you get them
No,
in,
not
let
yet.
us know.
Nope. Not at all.
No, the market has slowed down.
It has, yeah, for sure. People are still, I mean, like I said, well, and maybe that's all going to be now. It's just clear cut because they were planning and now they're slowing down. 'Cause
That's exactly it.
It is definitely slowing down. There's no doubt about it.
And that's what I've heard. Yeah,
Cooling, yes.
yeah.
All right,
All right, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
have a
you.
good one.
You as well.
Thank you, Noah.
Thank you guys. I got 2 new cards to get scanned into.
Okay, yes.
Oh,
I
great.
got those off today. So.
Keep those coming in.
Highly detailed ones.
Good.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, no.
Have a great day.
At 10:32, we'll move to administrator's report, and you have the first thing is the water usage bills going out this weekend.
Yeah, so while I'm making sure that that list is current and updated and whatever, I'm doing the water bills.
And that water bill is due May 1st. And I'm seeing people ask if they can pay online, and the answer is no.
No.
Send a check.
No way to do it.
I say the invoice is gonna have the address to send the check,
Mm-hmm.
and someday we'll resolve online, but that's not our priority. We have so many other things to do.
Yeah, a bulk of these, if I have an email address, I will email them. So.
And you have the IT consultant coming to the office?
Well, she would like to. So I'm just making you guys aware of it. I'm gonna let her come if she wants to come this week, and don't see why.
No, the sooner
Needs
she
to
can
hold
start,
off.
the better.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, she may, if she's asking questions that I can't answer, I might have her reach out to you. So I will let you know the day that she's gonna be planning on coming in.
Well, at some point you need to hook her up where she can ask Andrew questions.
Okay, so
directly.
that was my next thing that I was going to. Ian is aware, correct?
Sorry?
That there's an IT person that's,
I believe so, but we could
I think we should
formally tell him.
formally tell him. And that she may have to, reach out to him to answer questions.
Maybe I should give him a call.
Yeah,
Reach out to Andrew.
Yes.
Yeah.
reach out to Andrew, right. Just so he's aware, he's not caught off guard.
Mm-hmm.
Paychecks,
Paychecks,
all done?
well, let's hope. I was on the phone for quite a while, so you think that all the setup that I tried to do or whatever would help out? Well, no. They still have to go through, which was really helpful because I was actually able to have someone on the phone with me doing it and
Now you
kind
start
of getting training
Is this
at the same time.
ADP or is ADP?
Yes, it's
Okay,
ADP.
right.
So it went well, as far as I know, everything's gone well, but the checks aren't in the banks yet, so
Well,
You've
that-
done
that-
everything.
that'll be
we'll all
the,
know-
I've
we'll
done
all know-
everything I can.
We'll all know by Friday.
Exactly. Yep.
By the way,
So-
paycheck stock started to rise as we were leaving. I don't know why. I saw an interview with the president of Paychecks.
Oh,
They were into
really?
selling the data on all their customers, I think,
Oh, lovely.
as marketing trends. They know so much about,
Everyone, yeah.
yeah,
Who's on-
everybody
who's
they
on the-
give a paycheck
Yeah.
to. Anyway,
So getting back to the water bills,
yep,
I know we wanted to get a stamp.
I'm picking it up tomorrow.
Yes. Beautiful. Thank you.
Pick it up today, but I don't know if I'll get it.
Okay.
A stamp?
It's ready.
Yeah, the bank stamp, it just,
speaking of banks, did you have a chance to
I have an addition.
talk?
Okay.
So we want to talk to Camden and get that going.
You know how much of a tan you like?
No, I sent two Excel workbooks to everyone here.
Over the
One is an
catalog?
example of a filled in. I modified it so that it's readable
Nice.
and prints on 2 pieces of paper. I moved the notes around. I left the data so that Jennifer's never seen this thing. And so it's filled in according to 2023. Then I made a version of it that's blank
yeah.
because
That'll be good, because some of those loans are paid off and so.
yeah, I took loans out, I took warrant articles out that have already come and gone. And there was some numbers that I put in light blue
You did.
that I wasn't sure whether you needed to see them and then erase them and put the real numbers in. But the reason they're blue is I wasn't sure whether I should have left them in there or not.
Okay, well, I'm very unfamiliar with this and
Yeah.
data that's
We're
supposed to go in
starting
there,
now and it's
so-
gonna take some, you'll
Nancy
grow,
and I did
you'll
it before,
you'll grow
so-
to know and love
Yeah.
this thing.
Beautiful.
It helps
have
us
it
know,
automatic.
it helps us answer the question of
Yeah.
cash flow for the tin.
Correct.
Well, it tells us when we need to borrow money before we need to do it, which we didn't have last year. What was your question? Made you forget, which is exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Ask how much, and then we
Yeah,
got it.
and then it brought to
cash
this.
And then I brought
right.
the thing that's gonna tell me how much.
Right.
flow. All
Because,
goes well.
yeah, it should be interesting to see what the bill rate is.
Till I mess it up.
It was about 55 or 57,000, I think it was 50,
We used 55 in the past.
well, the actuals were on the one I gave her
Oh, wow.
from 2023.
Now, does your spreadsheet automatically add things up and stuff? Didn't yours, Nancy?
It will.
Oh, okay.
This
Yeah,
does.
the-
Good.
So anyway,
Work in
it's not like
progress.
we're needed
No,
next week
No,
to,
but, yeah,
to
gotcha.
do the 10.
Yep.
But this is gonna move at a pace as we talk to Camden and also fire up the attorney in Freiburg, and at the right time,
Yeah.
this will all merge and
Okay,
we'll be on track. Like the water system,
okay.
like the culvert.
Here, and certainly we can put in the actual CRF amounts as of January 1st.
True. Yep,
So the category monthly bills just covers everything we do in the manifest each
Yes.
week?
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Just operations though, right? The water system isn't part of
it,
this,
it
Right.
says
Because
it's
this is-
just
Right,
operations.
it's
Strictly
just
operations.
operations.
because we don't use TAN money for the water system.
Correct.
Are we ready to move on to signature items at 10:38 for Porter office?
So I got the contract in the mail, what he wants us to sign.
What's it say? What we expected to say?
Well, yeah, I figured that there would have been
$74 a
something.
month? I
Yeah.
saw that there's a $1 charge to
Yeah,
call the printer from his office and get the, that wasn't in the deal.
but I think that that's once a month. Doesn't happen like all
So
the
make a
time.
motion, we sign this contract?
Second.
All right,
3-0 on signing
Aye.
that. It's got the
witnessing.
canonical small print.
So, just needs 2 of our signatures?
Yep.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah, there's something there for the witness too, so,
Yeah, there's a witness, so
Yeah.
I guess you're gonna be the witness.
sure. There's another page to that too. There's like 2 different. There's the contract and then the rental agreement.
While he's signing that, Jennifer passed me a letter that was sent to me in Idlewise. It just so happens to be a company that is asking me if I'm interested in turning my lease into a cash with landmark dividend. And this is interested in our cell tower leasing, which is timely as we're examining that. So I may call this guy just to see what he has to say.
It is timely, yeah.
I'll sit on administrative stuff. I'm gonna do my commissioner's report while you're signing that. One of the things I'm gonna say is that I'm gonna take the old printer out of the office this week with the idea that I deliver the carcass to the transfer station
Oh,
and I
okay.
take the hard drive out of it and smash it with a wood maul and bring the drive in here for you to see that all the personal information that was collected over the years by copying W-2s and all that stuff is destroyed.
Okay, so destroying. You said this week?
Yep. Hopefully John Aruta's there so that he knows that the village can deposit that without having to pay the fee.
Okay.
Are you gonna be the
Sure.
witness?
Yep, yeah, this- Back when you signed it, okay.
Signing contracts on April 1st. Something wrong with that.
No, never. April Fool's
This
Day.
one's 2 witnesses.
Oh,
So,
You'll have to sign her, Donna can.
Sure.
April Fool's Day's been canceled.
You all set on the operating cash flow reports for now?
Yep,
Okay.
we're gonna
And-
get into that after they, well, actually, we got into it a little more than we should have already, but
Yeah, that's okay.
you need a chance to look at it, look at the old one and then,
Yeah, getting the bills out right now is my priority,
Uh-huh.
yep,
so. And you know, I've got days off next week, so, there may not be a manifest next week. It all depends.
that's okay.
Yep. So,
there could be a partial one that you think has to be done now.
yeah, it's nothing so far until I get something that's, I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that.
Yes, this is my commissioner's report, I'm
Alright,
gonna make a
great.
motion on this. I sent you the draft notes. I pulled together, I put a map so you could visualize where this lot is and see the lot numbers. This is in regards to the warrant article that passed at the annual meeting of the green space ordinance that allowed, the voters voted to allow 18 Bristol stock, an undeveloped lot, to be auctioned off to the abutters. So I went into the tax database and I found the names and home addresses of the 3 abutters. You can look at this if you want. And what I want to do is, I'm going to make a motion that the commissioners move forward with this auction, and the minimum bid price is going to be the current assessed value by the town's assessor of $16,900. Now, I drove a stake in the sand and said that we're gonna do this auction by June 6th, that the bids had to be in by 4 PM on Friday, June 6th. That gives us well over a month to get this out, because the ordinance requires that the potential bidders get notified of this at least 1 month prior to the sealed bid being due.
Oh, okay.
So if it's June 6th, we have to do the mailing by April 6th, May 6th.
Yeah. Can we do it beforehand too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in my draft, I put in a draft date of April 20-something,
Sure.
20X.
Yeah.
And I started to draft a letter saying that we're notifying you according to the ordinance.
Okay.
So my motion is that we're gonna have a minimum bid, auction this off with a minimum bid of $16,900. And the sealed bids are due by 4 PM on Friday, June 6th. That's my motion.
Second.
This is the only pieces I think we need to nail down, because what I was afraid of is confusion if Madison does a reassessment of the entire town, this assessed value may change. And I wanted to be clear that it's the assessed value as it is today.
Yeah.
Yep.
So all in favor of that?
Aye.
3-0 on a minimum bid of $16,900 and a sealed bid date of Friday, June 6th, 2025 by 4 PM at the office.
And
And I'll keep working on doing the draft, and I'll have you vote on the draft and sending this out certified
Okay.
mail.
so, two of these, they don't,
You seeing 4 lots of butt?
yeah, and
The Litton's on 2 of them.
yes. Are they merged? Or are they, because when I'm looking at this parcel, it has 108 and 109. So I
They
didn't
get to
know.
choose which one they're merging with. They're not merged according to the tax records,
Okay,
to answer your question.
You
all
mean
right,
they're
so they're
separated
not
out,
currently merged. Are we gonna, they'll be able to choose which one they're gonna merge it with?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not sending 2 letters to them,
Right.
because they have 2 lots. We could say in the letter that you have to identify which lot you're merging this with.
Okay,
Oh, I see.
They may want to merge all 3 of them at the same time, for all I know.
yeah,
And who was it originally put in for the application with the $75 check? Was that the Littons?
Yes.
yes,
So this draft note document is a public record,
yes,
and I haven't finished this,
Right.
right? What I need to do is verify that that the database is current. One of these abutting houses just changed hands. So,
okay,
I do have the latest one on that. I believe all 3 of these are correct. What I really need to do is go to a planning board meeting and ask them the procedure that they use when they sell a lot and they merge it. But anyway, that's that.
Okay.
And I'm gonna stop my commissioner's report with the goal of trying to get to an 11 o'clock ending time.
I don't have anything, so Nancy, you can.
okay. Updated the motion log. I'll get it around certainly by the end of the week, for including this week's stuff. But there were 3 things that stuck out to me when I was reviewing the motion log from some older things that I had not moved to the completed list, that sort of said to me, these might want to be policies. One of it was the allowing the DPW for mud season road postings, so the,
Signs.
you know, putting the signs up. That would also include giving Jennifer the information so that we can get it in the paper, if that's actually required. It seems to be the standard, because
Yes.
I've seen it in everybody.
Correct.
So I think since everybody's doing it, it kind of seems like that probably is the requirement.
Yeah.
So when Jeff's thinking towards posting the
Posting.
roads, that he can let Jennifer know so that we can try to get it into the paper as soon as we can at that time. So that was one of them. One of them was the change for the cost of copies, because that includes 91A. Anybody that wants something printed and handed to them under 91A, that's the cost for the copies. There is one, I think there's an old one that exists that doesn't have these current prices. So that was one of them. And the other one we've actually already touched on was the fall drawdown. Now, I already have some notes that we're gonna wanna update that before we turn it into a final policy, to show that it will also work in the spring or at any time
Right.
for the DPW, because I think I wrote it specifically for fall drawdown, and we'll update, you know, so I'll send up an update, you know, update on that for anytime in accordance with the ordinance.
Right.
You know, so there's something
Is that
coming
really
in.
around the window of time?
Right.
Dates listed, yep.
Right. So, and I just, like I said, was just, these were the ones that jumped right out at me as things we might want to think of policies. You may not want, you might not think they need to be policies, you know, so that's why I just sent them around as drafts saying, what do you think? So just some updates for next week?
Yep,
You wanna
Okay.
vote on next week then?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
So how are these usually handled? Are they put on letterhead and
They will.
okay.
They will. They'll be on letterhead. The commissioners will sign them, and they'll go into the policy book once they've been
Do you have to
finalized.
reference like the page and what, no?
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty.
No, these are policies, not ordinances.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And the other thing I had was rethinking something else from last week. The attachments to the annual meeting minutes, the annual meeting minutes are a legal document. And they cover from the opening of the meeting to the resolution, to the dissolvement at whatever time that afternoon. I don't think we should have the attachments.
Yeah, we discussed this last week, I think,
took
Doug,
them
didn't
out.
you? Yeah, Doug, you sent
said
two
that last
copies.
week.
right?
Yeah, we said to not put them on because the
DRA.
DRA wouldn't want them, but I think we were gonna have them on the
Website.
website. But
Okay.
so the attachments can certainly stay on the website,
Right.
but they shouldn't be they shouldn't be part of the annual meeting minutes. So it was
Oh.
just something else that, you know, just a clarification, because I think we left it almost like there would be two documents for the annual meeting minutes. One that the DRA had with no attachments, and one on the website
We did.
that would have attachments.
That's how
And
we
you
left
can't
it.
have two legal documents that are the same. So I just wanted to clarify that we should separate them on the website. All the information can stay,
I don't know
but,
what you mean. Like one name DRA.
Well, it's the naming
And
of
one
the
name.
files, it's the naming of the documents, so
Right.
it can be documented as the minutes of the annual meeting with attachments, with handouts, is the name of one. It's a matter of whether you want people to open up 2 documents to see this.
I think what you're saying is just post the minutes from the annual meeting for the website, that's it.
Yes.
But then there's a whole separate document, attachments, handouts from the annual meeting.
Which is the way we
which you
did
can
it
look
for
at.
2 decades.
Exactly.
Oh, okay,
And it should be separate.
okay.
Oh, you mean
Right
like
now, they're attached.
separate? They are attached.
Right now, they're attached in one document.
Oh, I see
They
what
should
you're
not be
saying.
one document.
Gotcha.
So the clerk caused this issue. by trying to be efficient.
Well, he's trying to be extra cautious and getting additional information, but it's not the right place to put it.
Okay,
Gotcha.
so he's
Sorry.
already split it. It's a matter of whether she has a document that has the handouts by itself, which
Right.
she did because she printed them. I don't know if you printed
Well,
separate
it's
documents.
very easy to do. All you have to
You
do
can
is
merge
print the PDF and just specify
Have
what
everything in
page
there.
Right.
and save it as another PDF. It's not hard.
Okay,
So you're gonna handle that?
Sure.
Okay.
thank you.
And now it's 5 of 11. Do you have more?
Nope, that was it.
Huh? Anything else anybody needs to talk about?
Nope.
Public comments?
Gonna sign the agendas and the checks.
Make a motion that we close this meeting. You wanna do something else?
Is there any public comments?
You just
Since
asked.
we've- Okay.
No, I just-
No? Okay.
appreciate
Motion
it.
to adjourn.
Happy birthday.
That was a
Aye.
comment.
Second,
Second.
3-0. Thank you, Carol.
Right up to the door.